Everybody out there, blame John for my next question because I was not going to utter the name Brian Kelly, but I got to get to this because it's all going to be about Hartman and Freeman and spring football and recruiting in the future. We'll get to that in just a second. But you brought up the name Brian Kelly. So you are not unlike just about everybody I come in contact that wears the famed green and gold and sometimes blue. And I won't ask you what your colors are because they, you know, the uniform's one thing and then the tradition is another. But in regards to Brian Kelly, if you just come in from the outside without any kind of context to it and you say, this was Notre Dame under Willingham and Davey and Weiss, and then this is what Brian Kelly did, and then you obviously would have a positive perception of what Brian Kelly built at Notre Dame and just said, if we're just looking at wins and losses and recruiting classes, then Brian Kelly did a nice job. But that's not the feedback and the vibe I get from Notre Dame people about Brian Kelly.
But everything you said could be true. Everything you said could be totally legitimately accurate. And that still doesn't mean that everybody was ready to break up, including Kelly himself. Like, everything you said could be true, but I might also suggest that's a low bar. And I don't like Notre Dame being compared to the worst recent hires. Like, that's kind of a low bar. Willingham and Weiss, like, can't we have a little higher standard than just being better than that? Would be one of my reactions. Here's what happened, Mark, and you could feel it and you could see it. And my validation in saying you could feel it and see it was both ways. The administration was getting tired of Kelly. Kelly was getting tired of the administration. Okay. Kelly was getting tired of the fans, and we were getting tired of him. He even mentions things in press conferences, like the relationship soured, and we reached a point where nothing else, we weren't never going to get any higher. Kelly was never going to change the way he recruited at Notre Dame. He was not an engaged, active recruiter at Notre Dame. He was not, Mark. The assistants were doing most of it. He was like a closer, come in at the end. Didn't want to spend a lot of time building relationships before he knew everybody could clear grades. By that time, it was too late to jump in the mix. There were a lot of recruiting things he was not willing to do. Getting on the private jet and flying around recruiting, he did not want to do that anymore, and it started to show. And then that's why the last few years they were very solid, but everybody saw there was a clear glass ceiling Notre Dame was not getting above. When you get to that point, meaning a playoff game or whatever, and without a change in recruiting quite drastically, it was never going to change. Kelly was not willing to do that work. And then everybody got sick of everybody. He looked for an exit, and now he's at LSU.
So everything you just stated right there was well stated and not necessarily anything I didn't know, but it just seems as though people cannot separate doing a good job versus we didn't like how it finished and we didn't like the attitude nor the approach he took to the job, but he did produce these results.
Yeah, but the results are like, what are the results? What do I get out of him winning the most regular season games ever and never winning a bowl game that matters? Like, what? Like, it's better than going 7-5, but this is Notre Dame. There's no division to win or anything. So, like, the idea that I'm supposed to love a guy who never won any major bowl game at Notre Dame seems odd to me. Like, that's the only thing there is, and he never did it once. How in love am I supposed to be with that? Not saying he did a terrible job. He rebuilt the culture and did a lot of great things, but we never got anywhere. He did a lot of great things. I am not saying he didn't. He rebuilt the culture. When he inherited the program, it was in a bad spot. He built up a lot of infrastructure at Notre Dame that was in dire straits. He built a culture of stability and a certain level. But after 10 years, people want a little more than that. Like, you want to feel progress. And it just got to a level it was never going to get any better than. He tired of it as well. And that's where you started having interpersonal things, and how you treat people. And then that kind of blows up. And Kelly was looking for a way out. And I'm going to give him a lot of credit. this LSU thing is a great fit for him. It is beautiful. I give him credit. If you were going to do this, he did it the right way because he's got what he wants in recruiting now. He can hang out down there within a couple hundred miles, doesn't have to fly all over. He's got it made. The grades aren't, it's not right or wrong. It's just a different way to do it. The grades aren't what they are, a little looser with NIL. Kelly has what he wanted at Notre Dame. He was never going to have the flexibility to move more guys in and out, use that portal, do NIL, recruit locally. All of that benefits Kelly. So as far as an exit strategy, this is an A+ for Brian Kelly, and I applaud him for it. And it's kind of affirmation to me that what I sensed with him, he sensed as well. And behind the scenes, he was telling his agent, find me the best landing spot because this is stale here. And they're not appreciating me. I'm not appreciating them. So it's a good job by him. But Mark, what it comes down to is effort. Brian Kelly stopped. He was not willing to put in the effort it took to get over the hump. And once it becomes an effort thing, I don't forgive that. I can forgive you putting in full effort, not getting over the hump. But when I hear from my recruiting guys, he's not willing to open a door, go get on the plane. We're done here. There's nothing else. We're done here when we reach that point. I got to go to bed every night, Mark, knowing the Notre Dame guys working all they can for us. Knowing that guy's golfing when he should be on the private jet rubs me the wrong way. Once we hit that point, you're dead to me.
Because we know what the competition's doing. They're grinding. We know that the competition's grinding. The elites are grinding. And John, you nailed the Brian Kelly fit to LSU because while on the surface, it seemed like the weirdest, strangest fit in the world, culturally, operationally, and functionally, it fits as you just described.
Yep. It does. LSU needed some stabilization and like somebody to kind of just start building that again. Kelly's great at that. Like they're not going to have culture issues and guys running wild. Like Kelly's going to control all that. It's going to be very, very stable. The most interesting dynamic to me about Kelly going to the SEC is I want to know how willing Kelly is to jump into all the SEC-ness and a lot of some of the stuff that goes on down there. I would love to just know his willingness to engage to that level in things that at Notre Dame land would have sent you right to purgatory forever, right? Like, I wonder what his willingness is to wade into those LSU swamps, if you will, and go down that path. But really good fit for him. Like awkward at first, the accent, all that. I had a heyday with it. But that might be great for a guy like that to come down there and go, you know what? I'm not from here. I talk a little different, but you guys need something different. And now we're going to do it my way and stabilize it. So far, so good for him. And the other argument, just like with Reese, if he goes to Alabama and lights it up, I'm going to hear, I thought you said he wasn't good. And I'm going to say the talent's different. Same thing at LSU with Kelly recruiting. I'm going to hear, look at his great class at LSU. What do you mean he can't recruit? Not recruiting well at Notre Dame's different than recruiting at LSU. They're not comparable. So I'm going to have to deal with that too. Oh, he has good classes there. What are you saying? He couldn't recruit at Notre Dame. I didn't say anything about LSU. He wasn't recruiting Notre Dame right. He wasn't putting the effort in here. I don't care what he does down there.